Well, good morning. It's Dr. Newman with the Darlington County School District, and I'm here to give an update. And I know you're saying to yourself, an update. This is something new that we have decided to give a try. We all remember a few summers ago with the Facebook Live and how informative that was and how helpful that was for you as employees in the school district and our stakeholders. And we've not really been able to capture that since that time frame. So this is an effort to do two things. For you to be aware of information on a monthly basis, for you to hear it straight from me, and for also, just from a communication standpoint, another avenue that we can try to get information out. So this is our inaugural information session. And again, we hope to do this once a month after the regular board meetings that we have, so we can incorporate anything that happens at a board meeting, and you can hear that information as well. So again, it's great to see you all. I know I have a captive audience, and we don't necessarily have a back and forth like we do on Facebook Live, but I do hope this will be informative for you. And please let us know if there's ways that we can improve this as well. So, a couple topics I wanted to talk about today. The first is, of course, we did have a board meeting this past Monday, and of note, a couple of the items that I would want you to know about is the COVID leave policy, the Darlington County School District COVID leave policy. We had second reading, which means it is final reading, and it is a policy now. And if you'll remember, that incorporates being vaccinated in order to qualify for the COVID leave. If you have at least one dose of a two-dose vaccination, Moderna or Pfizer, or if you have, of course, the Johnson & Johnson one dose, you would qualify for COVID leave if for some reason you had to be out of school for yourself or for a family member. So it does qualify for family members. That is 10 days of COVID leave, similar to what we had last year. And again, those 10 days can be utilized for yourself or for your family. You will just need to have proof of vaccination to give to benefits to Christy Sandifer in her department, and we can get that leave coded. So again, final approval was given on Monday evening. So that was one of the topics from the board meeting. For several of the past board meetings, we've talked a lot about COVID numbers, and a lot of questions have come up about masks and what are we doing in the Darlington County School District. And so I can tell you as of today, and I always preface it with, based on today's information, this is where myself and the school board is with regards to COVID numbers and masks. First of all, we appreciate the fact that there is now the ability to put mask mandate in place if we need to. And at this point in time, myself and the board all agree that there is not a need to put a mask mandate in based on the numbers that have been falling significantly over the past 2 months. To give you an idea, last week, total numbers of students that tested positive was 20. So we had 20 students all of last week out of 9,500 students that tested positive. Employees, we had a total of 7 employees out of 1,500 employees that tested positive last week. In comparison, our peak time was back towards the middle and end of August. So for example, we had a week where we had 127 students that were positive. That same week had 21 employees that were positive. So if you look at our number now, 127 for students and we're down to 20, and 21 employees and we're down to 7. Those numbers have been coming down continuously each week. And so we all feel confident that as the numbers come down, and we believe things are improving, that it would really be detrimental to put a mask mandate in place at the moment. Now, the great thing is that we have the ability to do that if the numbers change. And so, for example, if we have another surge or a spike in numbers, I certainly would look at putting that in place. I would start with schools because, again, we have a very large county. And some of our schools, for example, have not had any cases over the past couple weeks, whereas other schools have, and maybe a larger school would be more prone to that. So we'll look at it by school first, and then of course if we're in a significant surge where it's affecting the whole district, then we could certainly look at that for the district. So the ability to put a mask mandate in place and then to take it back off is in our hands now, and we're appreciative of that. But as far as would we do that today, again, the numbers have been declining every week significantly from what they were at its peak. And I just think it would be disruptive and just not appropriate at this point in time to put that in place for teachers to have to enforce, for administrators to have to enforce, as we're just now getting back to some consistency with the amount of kids and adults in the classrooms. So that's where we stand as far as the COVID numbers right now. A couple other items that I had that I just wanted to mention. We have your principals, the building principals, I'm sure have mentioned our academic enhancement program that we're about to start back with. Again, this is an opportunity to give our students more encouragement, but more instruction and help in catching back up from again, the learning slide that we had from the COVID time period. And so we just want to give our students as much opportunity as possible to get as much instruction as that they can get and as much help as that they need. So we're about to start our after-school academic enhancement programs again. Again, the dollar amounts that are associated with that, it's $35 an hour for teachers. It is $18 an hour for teaching assistants, and $45 an hour for the administrators of those programs. So again, it will be based on the amount of students that sign up. So again, we are offering this to all of our students that want to participate, but obviously it's based on the amount of adults that can cover and supervise students and the amount of students that actually are able to sign up. We are providing transportation for our students for the after-school programs, and again, it'll be important to get those numbers in so we can account for the school buses and the potential drivers that we'll need working after hours. But we're looking forward to starting this. Our tentative start date is October 26th. We hope to run it through Christmas and then, of course, take that break and then wait till we get started back after Christmas for a few weeks and pick it back up then through the end of the year. Another item I'd like to mention is that we have been in discussions. We certainly have talked with a lot of teachers and a lot of principals and a lot of coaches as well about the Unit 1 ELA assessments that have been rolled out. And again, we've been making adjustments. We greatly appreciate the feedback that you all have given on those. The intent is always, when we have something new, before we roll it out wholesale, to send it to our teachers and our schools and our administrators and get feedback before we put it out complete or for its first run, so to speak. So we realized after we put all that information out that there were some questions, and so we were able to ask you for your feedback. We've incorporated that feedback. We've adjusted those Unit 1 assessments. More importantly, Unit 2, we're going to do the same thing with. And so we want to make sure to give you enough time to evaluate the Unit 2 assessments and give us feedback so we can make sure we incorporate all those changes to where it's timely for you to give those Unit 2 assessments. Another unique piece of the ELA unit assessments is they're being rolled out through a program called Performance Matters. It is much easier to implement an assessment from Performance Matters into Schoology and to get it to your kids quickly. So it's just, think of it as a conduit right now. Performance Matters is the conduit to get the assessment from point A into Schoology to your students. But it's a much easier process than what we've experienced with Mastery Connect. Again, we've taught Mastery Connect every year. And I've heard from many of you about the limitations that we have. Certainly trying to set up an easy daily type of quiz is difficult, moving it from Mastery Connect into Schoology. And so we've heard you, and we certainly have taken steps to try to see if we can find another avenue to get that taken care of. And so that's where Performance Matters has come in. So again, nothing new to learn as far as a new platform or program at this point in time. It's just a conduit to get the assessment from point A to point B, which is in Schoology. So again, looking forward to getting the feedback from you on that. Again, remember the unit assessments are our way as a district to see how all of our schools are doing. And we really want this to be meshed in with your regular instruction and meshed in with your regular assessments. So again, we don't want this to be one more thing as much as just part of a continuum that we have in order to see the data. And again, for me at the district level, not only do I need to see the fourth grade timeline and the fourth grade progress in a particular school, but I need to see it for all of our schools. And so it's important from a pacing standpoint and from a standard standpoint. Are we having difficulty with particular standards across all of our fourth grade schools? Or is it just in a particular school or a particular classroom? So for me, that is the key to having the unit tests, is that it's the only way that we can actually get district-wide data. So again, thank you for the feedback, and look forward to seeing your Unit 2 come out soon so you can give us more feedback on that. Another item I want to mention, we have delayed our technology advisory committee since the beginning of school. We had hoped to have already started that. Mr. Brown and his team is anxious to get your feedback on any of the new technology that we may be looking at. And so that could be instructional technology and programs, or it could be hardware, such as projectors or computers, and how we move forward and how we select those items. So Mr. Brown has sent information out to all of the schools asking for volunteers to participate. You would probably meet about 3 or 4 times during the year, at least once every other month, just to talk through things. But it is incredibly important to get feedback from you on new initiatives that we're looking at putting out. And to have you be part of that process with us. So again, I'm thankful that Mr. Brown is putting that together, and it'll be a great cross-section of people across the district, different schools, different subject areas, and certainly not just teachers or administrators, but some of our TAs and other support staff. So please be on the lookout for that. And if that's an interest, please sign up and participate with us. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is we've had a lot of questions about the part-time TAs that we are implementing. And so again, a lot of the schools have been trying to go ahead and make those hires as quick as possible so those part-time TAs can help us. One of the questions that's come up is that we've had several of our retired teachers inquire about being able to be paid as a teacher, the teacher rate for those part-time TAs, but they may have let their certificate lapse. And so technically, if you do not have an up-to-date teaching certificate, we can't pay you that teaching rate as a part-time TA. But actually the State Department is helping us out with this. They actually have a retired teacher's certificate. And it doesn't require any additional hours that anybody would have to do. Really all you have to do is apply for that teaching certificate if somebody has been a teacher before and they are retired and let their certificate lapse. So if you know of any retired teachers that are out there that are interested in helping us as part-time TAs, and one of the obstacles has been that they couldn't get paid the different rate as a certified teacher, that option's out there now. They just need to work through the State Department to get that retired teacher certificate. If there's any questions that anybody has, they're welcome to call our Human Resources Department to get more information about that. But we certainly want to tap into any of our retired educators to help us with these part-time positions, because we know that helps our kids. So that's everything that I have on my list today. Again, I hope that's helpful for you on at least the subjects that we had. We'll continue to expand. We hope to hear some feedback from you on whether you feel like this would be something you'd like to see once a month, or more times or less times. But again, just missing the times that I was able to spend in those summers when we did Facebook Live and we could keep everybody updated. But we're attempting to capture some of that. So the last thing I'll say is it has been a very difficult couple months for not only our school district, but for anybody in education. And I just, again, want to express my thanks to all of you in every role that is in the Darlington County School District. I don't want to start naming roles because I'll leave somebody out. There's nobody that has not worked extremely hard in any given role in our school district to help us take care of our kids, to help us calm our communities, and most importantly, just to give that consistency and give instruction to our students. And I am grateful to all of you all for being able to work side by side with you with this. Again, I think Darlington County is unique. I think we have the best situation in the state with our employees, with our students, with the programs that we have in place, but most importantly, how we're all trying to work together for one cause, which is our students. Again, thank you for everything that you've done. You've helped steady the waters for us. And again, as I mentioned earlier, those numbers have come down drastically, and just maybe we can get back to some more consistent times where the only thing we're worried about is what kind of after-school activities that we can help our students engage in and have some fun with. Look forward to connecting again with you in the future, and I hope you have a great rest of the week and a wonderful weekend. As I always say, make sure you hug on those family members, tell them how much you love and care about them, and tell them how much that you're grateful and thankful that we are in the Darlington County School District. So have a great rest of the day.